Now, every one of us is a natural born earth steward. That is part of who we're supposed to be from the moment we're born. Now, we don't think that way anymore because we live in cities. We live lives of what we call multitasking, and we're doing all this virtual stuff. Well, you can't grow food virtually, you can't eat virtually. So, we got to kind of remember these things. And everything that is beneficial to us and for us comes from the earth. And so, even eating consciously is more than a notion, because we only begin to start to realize how conditioned we are toward products, not really food, products. And see, products are the cousins to pharmaceuticals, are the cousins to, you know, the chemicals that are used in big ag. You see this little strand of family going along here. And so when you become conscious, then you disengage from partaking of those things. You start being intentional about how you spend your money, with whom you spend your money, and what you're spending it on. And you start to realize my favorite principle: the problem is the solution. The problem is the solution. Now, that principle actually is kind of what inspired my work. Years ago, I saw this movie, Food Incorporated, and it really unnerved me to the degree that I felt uneasy shopping at the store if I didn't have enough information. And then what that movie taught me was, well, if I cannot trace the origin, ultimately I should say next on that purchase. And that's what's hard. That's what's hard. And then if we really start doing that, we start narrowing and really seeing, like, this is all there is, and the rest of this is, yeah, that's exactly how it is. And then now, this growing billions-dollar business with cannabis. Now, it's on the same track as the damn food. Now, someone just before me talking about, it needs to be grown outside. This, that, yes, it's a plant. Nothing grows well when it's kind of in bondage or hostage. And hate to say, but that's kind of what greenhouses are. The foods that come out of there, yes, they're all right, they're great, they look beautiful. Some of them even taste good. But nutrient value to what's produced outside, there is no comparison. Same with the cannabis. Same with the cannabis. But when things are commercialized and monetized, then, value starts taking on a whole different set of standards that are legal and followed. But that value does not necessarily translate into the quality of the outcome. And so with our food and our cannabis, we need to be conscious about those choices. Now, when I started my farmer's market 11 years ago, and it was actually after seeing Food Incorporated. After seeing that, I wanted to start shopping at farmers markets. Then when I started thinking, well, what the fuck? There's no farmers markets. I've never seen a farmers market in my neighborhood my whole freaking life. And I'm a Denver native. Okay, wow. Then, not long after that, I started realizing, well, actually, we used to have grocery stores. We weren't always a food desert, our neighborhoods. So how did this happen, and why is this happening? And then after more study, 50 out of 50 states of the United States have food deserts. That ain't accidental. Now, hey, that is not accidental. Hawaii, They have food deserts in Hawaii? WTF? Okay. So, this is why when we're living consciously, we're going to start noticing these things, noticing patterns, noticing trends, noticing how certain characteristics just seem to be together, you know? And so when I was started examining things further through those kinds of lenses, I started noticing that the majority of communities of color are currently food deserts. However, in their histories, they did not begin that way. Now, how that happened is because certain legislation was passed, and then as a result of that, it changed how things and what things were funded. And so if ain't nothing being funded over here, ain't nothing gonna be happening over here. And if businesses start saying things like, oh, the socioeconomics of these neighborhoods is not high enough to support my existence over here, these are the arguments being used when that wasn't no problem. People was walking over there or biking over there, driving their cars if they wanted to, but mostly walking. And when grocery stores were taken out of neighborhoods, the ancillary businesses that were around those started to die. So if it was a cleaner's, a shoe shop, a dentist, a doctor, you started hearing people say, well, while I'm out, meaning out getting this food, there's other little setups like that. So they start patronizing that, and the things in the neighborhood suffer. And then over decades, you know, people just don't even do that anymore. And so this has happened in all of our states in the inner cities. And you're hearing this food desert conversation over and over. You're hearing another term, food swamp, which means instead of, there's still no stores, but there's a whole lot of fast food at liquor stores. Like every fast food joint you can imagine, it's a plethora, no grocery stores. So that's a food swamp. And then a food desert, comparatively speaking, is, okay, there's no stores and there's not that much fast food. It might be 7-Eleven, few liquor stores, things like that. But if you look at the history of neighborhoods, you will see that when people were connected to their local farmers, those local farmers had relationships with those neighborhood stores, and that's how that was getting done. And then when business started being done differently in our ag world, to where now big businesses is doing this and like, oh no, we gotta raise food on this scale, and that destroyed our local food systems. So now things are so out of balance. The lion's share of the things grown here in Colorado leave Colorado, and to offset that, we're importing meat from Australia, and swai is catfish from Vietnam. What? Exactly. So when you start checking the scene on what's really in the story, you're like, okay. So I have a rule about food, and it has the acronym TOLD, T-O-L-D. Traceable origin, organic, local, delicious. I mean, what's the point if it ain't delicious? So, I feel it. So people say, well, what are you doing, Bev? I say, well, I'm going around getting people told. That traceable origin, organic, local, delicious foods. Now, let's talk about this traceable origin stuff. Now, a lot of the farms here in Colorado are big ag. Okay, big ag is not where I'm sourcing from. And here's another thing I had to realize. I'm in the city, wishing to serve people that are disconnected from a relationship to food for reasons. Okay? You're in the food desert. All right? And you have food stamps as your food currency. Okay? Um, so, man, you definitely not eating healthy. Definitely not eating healthy. You know? And so, my goal is to start serving people in that position. They're a whole long way away from what I'm really here to do. So how do we start building that bridge? Well, you got to start with building a rapport with people based on trust, being consistent. I would do things like what I call the show and tell approach. Have things for people to taste and try, like juicing, for example. Yeah, any juice I make, they like that. Because I learned that adding those roots, which were in that juice, ginger, burdock, and turmeric. Now, those 3 roots cover every major system in your body, everything from your hair to your toes. Okay, your brain health, your heart health, your gut health, your lymphatic system. You name it, a blood cleanser, you name it. Those 3 roots, they just took care of all that right quick. And it tasted pretty good too, you know? And so here's what I learned. To get people's attention, I had to cater to the 5 senses. So, it needs to look good, needs to smell good, better taste good, okay? And so to appeal to the ears, I would have a different DJ every week playing music. Because sometimes the music, you know, is filling the atmosphere, makes you feel welcome. If it's music you like, you're gonna linger, you know. Then, also looking at these people that are disconnected from food are also not real healthy because you're definitely not exercising. It's definitely not on your mind. So to help break that barrier, I started offering no-cost active living classes. So I had yoga, Tai Chi, Zumba, Pilates. I had biking and walking groups meet up, you know, at where I'm posted. So that way there's a touch point for people to engage in something, even line dancing. I almost forgot. Because some people are like, oh, no. I say, you will dance, right? Okay, bing. So we've done thousands of steps by the time they do go through all these dances, you know. It just worked out great. And so all of this to say that approach is everything. That's how we gotta, you know, approach is a choice. And if we're living consciously where our activities are not harming the planet, our activities are not harming each other. Our activities, it's not just about us, but it's blessing those around us or giving back in some kind of way. You know, that's living a conscious life. And so, you know, since 420 is about heightened consciousness, you know, on a personal note, I'll share that I wanted to be here because today is the anniversary of my mom going to heaven last year. That was a trip. I was like, you would leave on 421 because you know it's about to happen, you know. But to say that, you know, what a beautiful way to kind of have to blend these things together, you know, because it is a spiritual practice if you choose it to be, you know. Your food is your medicine if you choose it to be. You know, that little juice was just like a little show and tell. Let you know how easy that can be. And so, you know, making better choices, that you can implement that like right now. So, thank you for listening.